Hello, beautifuls. Happy Monday night and welcome to our team huddle. Tonight we are talking about if you are losing hope in your business. That's a huge thing. Hope is a very powerful thing and it can be a fleeting thing if you don't have something to back it up. So we're talking about that tonight because it's sad when people just give up on their business because a lot of times it comes from a place of like self-defeat. And they're giving up on themselves. And that's just super sad. Like if somebody has like this amazing $1 million offer and somebody just handed them an inheritance and that's why they're leaving the business, I'd be like, yay, rah, rah, good for you. But if it's because you are like giving up on yourself, that's what I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about trying to work a different way to get the results we want so we don't have that feeling. This is kind of going to be unconventional because I don't think you're going to hear any of what I'm about to say from any of the top leaders. And you'll see why once I get started. So I will just dive right into it. So a lot of us were raised with, the same, if spiritual background, family kind of background. If we weren't, a lot of us have reached that kind of status and have a similar kind of view on life, if you know what I'm getting at. A lot of us, not everybody, but so what I have realized is throughout our spiritual journey, we are very heavily trained about humility, which humility is like a beautiful quality. Like when I meet somebody who's truly humble, I'm like, wow, like they just radiate, like they're amazing. But I think humility, there might be a huge umbrella over that trait of humility, encompassing some traits that don't need to be there. Okay, so for instance, have you ever mistaken like high achievement for the negative quality of pride? You get what I'm saying? Like you've seen top leaders post and you're like, they're doing really well, and you might take that as, oh, that's the sinful kind of thing of pride. Or have you ever traded out the terms dreams and goals with somebody that's acting like they're entitled or boasting? I want you to drop a 1 if you have ever posted something that you were super worried, like you kept questioning, am I bragging? Okay, so drop a 1 if you have ever felt you have put something either in your stories or on Facebook or Instagram and you're texting like Kalila or Mariko and you're like, oh my goodness, does it sound like I'm bragging? Like, what, is this okay? Like, I feel like all of us should be putting a 1 because when you're bold, when you're kind of like put out those life posts, it's so normal to feel that way. Like, okay, this goes against the grain of what I was taught. This is weird. I want to 100% reassure you that you were not boasting. You were not bragging. That is your limiting belief. That is your soundtrack that you have been playing in your mind over and over for a year, 2 years, 5 years, a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, however old you are. You might have been playing that same soundtrack in your brain and convincing yourself. And you are projecting that emotion onto your readers. So I want to reassure you, unless you straight up said, look at all this money I got, and did a boomerang, like throwing hundreds up in the air. Well, I don't know if hundreds, 1s, 20s up in the air. Like, unless you did that, I can reassure you, you were not bragging. You were still humble. You are still have that humility. Okay. So don't think that you don't. Here is what I've learned about Team Crow, our team. And it's called Team Crow because my last name's Crowther. And so if anybody's wondering, why do Monica and Kalila always say Team Crow? Like, that's because my last name's Crowther. And you guys are all underneath of me. Anybody new, like, I'm a double diamond above you. I'm Jordan Crowther, Let me do my introduction 7 minutes in. Okay, so here's what I've learned about our team, Team Crow, that is super special. We all watch these high achieving, motivational top leaders, right? Like Cheyenne Knox, Ashley Mayfield, Courtney Bohr, I think her last name is different, but you know, even Ashley Mirth, who's close to all of us, like we watch these high achievers speaking about big dreams, manifestation, living our best life, becoming millionaires, like the sky is the limit. And in that moment, when we are watching them, when we are just in it and hearing their voice, we are like, yeah, like pumped. We are like jazzed and pumped about our goals and feel like we are on top of the world. But I believe what happens is the next day or 2 days later, our roots, what we have rooted ourselves deeply in, creeps in. Realism creeps in. And dreaming our dreams turns right back into exactly that, just dreams, like the kind of fictional dreams, fairy tale dreams, like pipe dreams. And I think that's what happens. You know, we kind of get inflated and deflated super quick. So I've thought a lot about this. No amount of me coaxing you, Gretchen coaxing you, even Saray, who's sidelined, Jenny, Katie, any of us leaders on this team, you're enroller, like it doesn't even matter your rank, no matter what. I don't think any of us coaxing you into believing in yourself or empowering you is going to convince you in and of itself, you, that you were made for more. I can't give that to you. I wish I could. I wish we could, like, as soon as you join, do like a little lobotomy and get in your brain and be like, you got this, girl. And then you'll actually be like, yeah, I got this, girl. And you'll go and you'll run. It takes so much work to get to that point. My husband gets so frustrated, like when we do these Zooms all the time, like not our team Zoom, I feel like is very special, but like, you know how it is in Limitless Tribe, there's Zooms every night, all night long. If you wanted to, you could be a professional Zoomer with It Works, but unless you apply it, you're not getting anywhere. So he gets frustrated that like there's so many encouragement Zooms, and he's like, y'all get on these Zooms and you're like, rah, 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 pump up. And then they're like an hour long. That's an hour you could be working. And then they're over. And the next day you're right back to where you were, you know? He's like, forget the pat yourselves on the back Zooms, just do like work Zooms. So I get it. And he's a man, so he can like kind of think that way. I think women just overthink. So this is what I want us to do. And it might take a little practice, but I think it's going to work for us, for our team, knowing a lot of you personally, knowing where we come from, knowing how we think and believe. I want you, when it comes to your business, to take all emotion out of it. Take all emotion, take all overthinking out of it, and pretend that you actually do have a boss. We know we're our own boss, and we get empowered by that, and we share like memes of that. We share quotes and like be your own boss, all that. Like, it's such a fun feeling. But I think where we get stuck is we believe that in the moment, but we don't believe it deep, 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 deep down. So if you trick yourself into thinking you actually have a boss, what's going to happen is when you come to us and you feel discouraged, doesn't matter. Just do your job. You don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter. Just do your job. Someone said no to you and your feelings are hurt. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Do your job. You're bored with your tasks. This business wasn't as glamorous as you thought. We post these cute pictures and you're like, I thought this was going to be magic. Who cares? Just pretend you're going to be fired if you don't do your job. It doesn't matter. Do your job. You see, like this business, it's not hard. Not one of you can tell me that clicking buttons and copying and pasting a message is hard. It's not. The stuff that's hard is when we get in our own brain and we let outside circumstances or internal circumstances or people's reactions or our fear of what people are going to do. That's when it gets hard. That's when we're like, oh my goodness, I have a million things to do. No, you don't. You have like 4 things to do. There's the core four. Jade always talks about the core four. So if you actually think this business is hard, you are overthinking. So I wish there was a way like we could get dumber when we started this business. Like the less you think, the better you're going to do. That might sound counterintuitive, but it's almost like the less you get distracted, pretty much, the more you can just focus and not overthink anything, the better you're going to do. Because if you were at a job that you needed, like you wouldn't have food on your table, you wouldn't have a house to live in or an apartment to live in, you wouldn't have anything unless you kept this job. So you need this job. Even if it was a minimum wage, doesn't matter. You got a job, you got hired, you need that job to live. And your boss said, send 50 messages. And at the end of that day, 50 messages 3 times a day, like 150 total. And you were like, I got out 15. That's pretty good, right? Like I should get a pat on the back. No, you're fired. Like, no, I told you to get out 150, split it up 50, 3 times a day. You got at 15. No, you're not getting a good job for trying. Like, no, that doesn't work. You're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to help your boss by doing that. He's going to find somebody else. And you can't go to your boss and say, I just don't believe in myself today. I'm not coming in. I'm not coming into work. No, you would never, ever, ever, ever do that because you would get fired. There's consequences. Why are we putting so little consequences when it's our business and the sky is literally the limit? I believe that. And there's people on this team that do believe that. But there's a lot of us that have a hard time wrapping our brain around the belief part of it. So until you get there, I'm not saying you shouldn't have big dreams and big goals. I want that for you. I wish I could just think that for you. But until you convince yourself of that, just do the tasks. Just view it as a job. Just go through. You need 2 hours a day. 2 hours. 2 hours of real, it works work in a day. And I'm going to tell you what that entails. It's messaging, following up, growing your network, posting. And that's it. Okay. It's not scrolling. It's not having, conversations with your sideline in your team. You can't count answering strangers' questions in the Limitless Tribe when there are 1 million people. I even have that group muted because there's so many questions. Leave that stuff to the top leaders that are making the big bucks. They can answer the small questions. You don't need to be in that chat answering people's questions, or in that group, I should say. You can't count the time in your chats. Like a lot of us are on, we're all on the same team. We're all under, Gretchen and me, but there's individual chats. All that kind of stuff, while it's fun and encouraging, you cannot count that time. You can't. You have to be real honest with yourself what actual work is. And it's 2 hours. 2 hours. So you can do 2 hours straight. You can do 1 hour in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, 30 minutes in the evening. You can split it up into 12 sections, 10 minutes each, from 12:01 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. As long as you get that. That is all you need to make a success of the business. So make sure you're doing the right things. These Zooms, this is why I'm teeter back and forth with watching like Zooms from all different top leaders, because you can't count this time. It might be encouraging, but it's not income producing. It doesn't work by osmosis. You can't like get the information and be like, oh, customers. No, it doesn't happen like that. So you've got to actually do the work. And that's where I do differ with Jade. Like I said at the beginning of this video before I started recording, she's all about put your phones down, look at me. And I'm like, girl, you don't have to look at me. We are women. We are multitaskers. Like you can be on your phone, messaging, clicking a button, following new people, saying, oh, I love your sweater. Oh, that dog is so cute. Oh, that, just keep that up. Keep going. So I think what happens sometimes, and correct me if I'm wrong, not all of us do this. There's no one person that I'm picking on because I've done it too. Let's say you have like a 20-minute slot of time. And in that 20 minutes, you're like, I'm going to send out 50 messages. Now, let me just explain. That's pretty generous. If it's taking you longer, to send out 50 messages, then all you need to do, like talk to your enroller, talk to your upline about like text replacement, about boards. There's ways to do something super fast without overthinking it. So I'm just using this as an example. Let's say 50 messages in 20 minutes. And you get started. You're like, okay, yes, let me go through. And you get through 4. And you're like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go check if on Instagram Messenger, if Monica answered my question. I asked her like 17.5 minutes ago. So I'm gonna see if she like checked it. So let me go do that. Okay, that's gonna take a minute. And then you're like, oh, that's right. Kalila said she was gonna tag me in some videos. So let me go hop on Facebook now. I'm still on my break. Let me go look what she tagged me in and check that out. And oh yeah, Sharon put up these super cool slides. I need to message her and text her and ask her like what app she used for those slides, because I love it. Okay. All right. So let me get back. I'm on message number 5. Okay. Let me find, where am I at? Okay. All right. Okay. I think I found it. And then you're like, okay, let me check out what this person's all about. I want to make sure I'm sending them the perfect message. The perfect message. So let me go over and board. And like before you know it, 15 minutes has gone by and you've only gotten 4 messages out. You are trying to do too many things and you're getting distracted. You're allowing yourself to get distracted. If you were sitting in an office in a cubicle with a boss breathing down your neck, you wouldn't for a second stop the task you were on to go do a bunch of other little things. You wouldn't do that because you would have the fear of losing your job. So if it takes you thinking you're going to lose your job to stay focused until you get that belief in yourself, then do that. Do that. So that's kind of all I had to say. I hope some of that will help with, because we all do it. We all get distracted. Sorry, I'm reading the messages now. When we have a boss, yeah, we know we have to show up no matter what. And sorry, I'm reading. If I'm having troubles focusing, I stop and ask myself if this is an income producing activity. Yes, I do that too. Well, yeah, you said I gave you that advice. I'm sure I got that advice from like Tara or Ashley or something, because it's true. This is why we're talking on this subject, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to get distracted. So the reason I worded it, like if you're giving up hope on your business, watch this, because I want you to remove that kind of, it's overwhelming and it's a huge weight on your shoulders to dream big. I think we all have the capability of dreaming big and handling that kind of pressure. But if it's to the point that we're getting overwhelmed and discouraged every day because our dreams are so big, and we need to just trick our brain into thinking, just do the tasks, just do the task, do the task, do the task, do the task. Like, do it. Don't think, just do. I want everybody, if you can, if you're not driving, type in the chat. Don't think, just do. Don't think, just do. Okay, that's going to be our mantra. And I hate that. I don't want to be like Team Crow, the team of dummies, but I feel like if we dumb it down, we can be so much more successful, right? Does that make sense? Okay. If you guys have questions on any of this, or you totally are like, Jordan, you're off your rocker, you're out of your mind, what are you talking about? Message me after this and we'll chat. Like I said, you're not going to hear this from top leaders. If you get on an Ashley Mayfield, she will pump you up in 5 seconds. You'll be like, I can do everything. I want to be a realist. I want to be on your level and be realistic and understand that we have dreams, but we might need to just power through until we get that feeling, So, all right. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for watching.